So it's a well-known fact by the human race that prank channels are probably one of the worst things to happen in human history. Even worse than World War I and II combined. But prank channels never used to be this way. There was once a day in time when they were respected channels. And you know, if you had a prank channel and you told people that, you wouldn't get laughed out of the room and bullied into oblivion. But times have changed, and saying that you run a prank channel on YouTube is probably equivalent to saying that you have 2 feet, or maybe you breathe air. Especially with prank channels nowadays, where they will do literally anything to get any type of attention at all. You think back to that UK prankster, I can't even remember the dude's name, to be honest. I think his name was Mizzy or something like that. He was absolutely insufferable. Aside from him, I find that most prank channels have a line that they don't tend to cross. A line in the sand that's kind of a nice, healthy boundary. Most of the time, pranks these days involve harassing random strangers for no reason. And if the stranger isn't laughing at the YouTube prankster's jokes, then they usually tack on a little bit of physical assault for good measure. What I've discovered recently, though, is that these big YouTube prank channels, while they might have a line in the sand that they don't tend to cross, the small prank channels are on a completely different level. They are on a completely different level of asshole. We're talking a full fisting instead of just a little tease here. Allow me to introduce you to our main protagonist of today's story. This is today's village idiot that we're going to be talking about. Now, this absolute piece of work made a video called Vaping Aggressively in Strangers' Faces Prank. Now, I'm really glad he ended that title with prank, otherwise I wouldn't have been sure. Might have clicked on that video expecting some sick vape tricks or whatever. You know, blowing some fat clouds up in this bitch. But overall, I don't think I need to be the one to say it. There's nothing that's like a prank about this. You're just being an asshole. And to give him some credit, he's not the first one to do this. There's a bunch of prank channels out there that have done this same idea. I find that it's a constant thing in the prank world where if someone makes one idea, you'll get 50 million other results from other pranksters doing the exact same goddamn idea. Doesn't matter how aggressive it is either. It could be like a going on a murder spree prank and everybody will copy that shit. It's crazy. But still, the way he did the video and what he did in the video and just everything about the video made my skin crawl. So let me show you some of this hilarious prank.
You do look great today, by the way. What's the problem?
I can call the manager or the police. What would you rather?
Definitely the manager, even though that's my mom.
I'm gonna call the cops.
Now there's a lot to unpack here. I can't even imagine the lack of brain cells you have to not only pull this prank off in general and go through with it, but to pull this prank off on someone in a mobility scooter. Why? These prank channel YouTubers are usually built like 3 toothpicks duct taped together. They always end up picking people that will never ever fight back. I still can't believe that the guy had the guts to 1, film that video, 2, go after a woman in a mobility scooter, 3, get the video and edit it, and 4, post it. How do you go through that many things and still think it's a great idea? What kind of upbringing and life do you have? I honestly think it's a trend with prank channels to, well, not even a trend, just like a general way of life with prank channels where they pick on the most defenseless people they possibly find. Like there's this other small prank channel that I found earlier while I was making this video, and I was going down the rabbit hole of shitty prank channels, and this dude would literally grab like a gender reveal cannon and he would fire it directly at elderly people. Why? I don't know. I don't even know what the prank part is. Like, what? Is there anything funny about that? Now, I thought long and hard about the reason why prank YouTube channels would end up this way. And, you know, I was thinking like a stoic philosopher here. You know, I had my chin on hand, knuckles, really thinking hard here. And I think I've really honed it down into just 2 reasons. The first reason being that they are a small prank channel, right? A small channel very, very rarely gets backlash or criticism of any sort. Let's say if a big YouTube channel did this, for example, they would get backlash to shit. You know, you blow shit into a woman's face in a mobility scooter, you would get fucking knocked out by Twitter. But in the case of a very, very small YouTube channel, You don't have that. And I find it very strange because if you look through his videos comments, you find everything is very positive. Everything's being like, oh my god, this is hilarious. One day you're gonna be famous on YouTube. And I think that has to do with people finding a small YouTuber being just shocked with the production quality, not even the content. And they just... I'm really trying to justify watching as a prank channel viewer. But I think because they get that kind of support where it's like, oh my god, you're gonna be YouTube famous, son. You're gonna be making it in the big leagues. Remember me when you're famous. Please be my sugar dad and let me sell you my kids. I think that really plays into their ego. I think that makes them think like, oh my god, maybe I really am funny. So they try and do the most outlandish shit they possibly can. And you know, when they're getting told that they're gonna be YouTube famous and that their content is amazing, they move on to the second point as to why I think that this shit is existing. They try and get as much attention as they possibly can. I mean, when you're a small YouTube channel, you tend to do things that are a little shocking to the viewer. Or at least you try and do things that would get people's attention in the algorithm. And in the case of prank YouTube channels, I feel like especially in the small space, there is no limits for what you come up with. Like, there's kidnapping pranks out there, for fuck's sakes. You know, it's not, there is no line in the sand like I was talking about earlier when it comes to these small prank channels. And I find most of them are the same type of personality. They're all kind of like, I don't want to say frat douchebags, but what they remind me most of is kind of like a Rice Gum type YouTuber, his personality type. Every single one of them are exactly like that. And I find most of the time it's teenagers that are watching these prank channels and they're trying to emulate the bigger prank channels, and you know, they're big fans of their content. So as you do when you're a small YouTuber, you tend to emulate as much as you possibly can because you look up to your creator, your favorite creator, so much. And I find that is probably why these YouTubers, these small YouTubers, are doing shit like this. And it might just be a very, very toxic cycle of repetition and constant just feeding of the worst content you could possibly imagine. And that really is unfortunate because the only people suffering are strangers, random people in the wild just going on about their day, getting harassed by assholes trying to make a YouTube video. Now, one more thing I want to mention is that in the YouTube video that I showed you earlier where he's blowing smoke in people's faces and shit like that, there's a scene in the car afterwards, after they get kicked out of Target or wherever the hell they were, and he's having like a moment of clarity talking about how bad he feels, you know, doing that to that woman. But his mind is so fucking infested with trying to get clout. It really is like the Black Plague, that he just doesn't care. He does it anyway. No matter how bad he feels, he knows it's wrong, but he does it anyway because clout is a fucking disease. People online, positive comments about this shit online, statistics on a screen fuel people enough to want to do shit like this. And I just think it's absolutely batshit insane. So let me show you the clip where he has his moment of clarity, just so we're on the same page here.
Yo, I feel so bad for pissing off that disabled woman. She said she's gonna call the cops. I said, let's get the fuck out of this shit.
So how do you go from that realization that you have just been an absolute fucking nuisance, a fucking bottom feeder of society? How do you go through that and then go home, edit it, look at it, and be like, this is fire? How does that happen? I really don't understand. I'm really trying, man. I'm really trying. It's late at night. It's 1 a.m. I'm really, really trying to understand, like I said, but I just can't. And I don't understand small prank channels or the people that watch them. If you're a small prank channel viewer or just a prank channel viewer in general, I'd be very curious to hear your opinion because not my type of tea. Not my cup of tea at all. But hey, maybe there'll be a day in the future where prank channels aren't assholes anymore. Maybe they'll have their fucking redemption arc or something. Here's hoping for the best. Anyway, I'm on vacation right now, fellas, by the time this goes up, so I'm gonna be posting a little bit inconsistently, maybe like once a week until I get back at the beginning of February. But I hope you all have a fantastic week and day. I'll see you very soon.